How can we make sure that technology is used responsibly? This and more coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Thanks for coming back to the channel for episode 3 of Knowledge November. The whole of November I'm talking to experts that share the wisdom with you guys. I hope so far you've enjoyed the first 2 episodes throughout November, and this one is a big one because we have the honor of Balazs Kis coming on the channel. He is one of the founders of MemoQ. He was for a long time the CEO, the co-CEO. Now his role is called Chief Evangelist. He's still very much involved with MemoQ, very much involved in the language industry. I see him at a lot of events, so we have met a few times, and it's really a great pleasure to have him on. I was thinking what angle to go about for this interview because he has such an interesting background and I wanted to make the most of it. And I felt like he is the person to actually talk about technology, but almost in a philosophical way. So I told him, let's angle this interview around responsible use of technology. And what came about is a super interesting conversation. I tried to cut it down, but I just couldn't cut out anymore. So it's quite a long video, but I hope you enjoy. Make sure to check the description. All the links to Balazs are there if you want to reach out to him directly. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoy.
So welcome back everybody to the channel. We have Balazs Kis here today. Thank you so much, Balazs, for being on the channel. Welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity, Adrian. It's an honor. I think I'm telling the truth when I say I've been looking forward to getting with this at one point.
Excellent. For me, it's also kind of a circle closing because I was just thinking that like over 10 years ago now at university, we were working with MemoQ. And quick introduction, Balazs is one of the founders of MemoQ and former CEO. And we already then like watched videos of you and like read articles and stuff. So it's kind of surreal that you're now here, but I appreciate it a lot. Currently your role is called Chief Evangelist at MemoQ, right? I will want to know a bit more about what that entails. He is also a member of the LINT group, the Language Industry Expert Group from the European Commission, and has a very diverse background. So you were involved in linguistics, tech, engineering, natural language processing. So made it very fun to prepare for this interview because I could literally ask you anything, I feel like, and you have an answer for anything. First, could you give the viewers a bit of an overview about who you are, about your professional background?
Sure. So I started off as a programmer, if you will. I studied engineering, computing. Started off as a systems operator. Actually, I started my career training systems operators on Windows servers, which was a peculiar thing to do in the mid-90s. But even then, I was very interested in applying my knowledge and skills, engineering skills to human language. So even my thesis was about the rule-based parsing of natural language text, which later evolved into projects about information extraction and content analysis and the like. I'm even one of those few people who, together with another founder of MemoQ, we wrote a rule-based machine translation engine for our previous employer, which is a skill that is like 100% useless at this point. We did it around late 90s, early 2000s. But later on, I realized that if I hope to be serious about natural language processing, about using my development skills to natural language, then I'd better pick up some linguistic skills. So I did my PhD in applied linguistics, university in the south of Hungary. And in the meantime, I also got involved in publishing, which is interesting because we were translating books for developers and systems operators into Hungarian. So that gave us an insight into how large volume translations are done on a short notice without compromise on quality. Because obviously, if you're publishing, you need to produce publishable quality.
Yeah.
And this is how a very specific workflow of collaborative translation evolved. Again, we are talking about the second half of the 90s, which later led to the construction of and spawned the architecture of what was then known as MemoQ server. Later evolving into MemoQ PMF. So that's how my professional background intertwines with the actual activities I did. That's one thing I'd like to mention because I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of this group. I'm also a member of a group of professionals called the AI Localization Think Tank. And we created it a little over a year ago. There were about 20 of us in the group, and we are trying to create clarity around AI, provide some insight, I would say education, but if anybody says they are an authority about the workings and the use of AI, they are not telling you the truth. There is no such thing as an ultimate authority on it. Yet we are trying to, again, like I said, create clarity, speak to the human factor, and instill a notion of AI that two scholars from Princeton called AI abnormal technology. So when AI is not your superior, not your replacement, not your companion, but a tool in the tool chest. So, in short, I'm very proud of this group. It's a wonderful group of professionals and individuals as well. I hope we will be able to put the URL for this group somewhere in the video. This is so non-profit that we don't even have a legal entity yet.
Yeah, it's a nice little teaser because I actually have the week after this goes out. So next week for the viewers, Coral and Belen will come on the channel and talk about the AI think tank. So we will hear a lot more next week about that. And that's definitely a very exciting project. And I think this was born, if I remember correctly, it was born out of TEF last year, right?
Kind of, yeah. The people who created it met there, for the first time. And then it all went very quickly, and we went public at the Gala Conference in Montreal. So that's when we released the website, published a press release, and we have been in the public ever since.
Nice. That's a great overview of your background. I mean, very short, of course, but we can't go into all the details. But one thing that I read about you, and also I read articles of you speaking of a topic that I want to kind of angle this interview around, which is responsible use of technology. What does that mean for you, especially in the context of translation and localization?
Let's say I'm a humanist at heart. Humanism is a kind of ideology, kind of a philosophical system of thought, or a value system, if you will. And when I applied the technology, this tells me two things. One of them is all creation and uses of technology have to happen to the benefit of humankind and the benefit of individual humans. That's one of the things. And the other thing, it has to be created and used in a way that it is controlled by humans and not the other way around. I think humankind, as in particular groups of humans, as in individual humans, need to be in sufficient control over it, and it needs to be, let's say, knowable and explainable to humans who are supposed to control it. So these are the basic thoughts. This is what responsible use of technology means to me. It also means that every responsible creation and use of technology also excludes all kinds of ulterior motives like power and the motivations of power and greed.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean greed as a technical term, so it's not obviously it's always moral, but that's also a philosophical phenomenon that there are individuals who are not satisfied with an elaborate wealth that they accumulate. You know that.
Yeah. And do you see differences in the meaning of responsible use for, let's say, for private people like freelancers, for tech companies, for large LSPs, or for your companies as well? Do you feel like this definition that you gave applies to everyone, or is there nuances between the users and producers, basically?
What I think I apply the same principles that apply to any kind of action that is taken in society. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you do something, you are responsible for it. If you do something from a position of power, you are more responsible. So your responsibility is kind of proportional to the power you wield when you take that action, when you use that technology, when you create that technology. It came up a lot around the implementation of GDPR. Everybody, well, I don't know about everybody, but at least European listeners, viewers will know about GDPR, the backbone of protection of personal information here in Europe. Set up so-called data protection, data processing agreement as well between the parties. And you see a large corporation contracting either a small translation company or a freelancer. And when you see then that, okay, you need to protect all the professional personal information that is transferred to you, but I'm not gonna tell you what personal information I'm transferring to you. You figure out and protect whatever you don't know about. So in that sense, when this happens, the responsibility of the big corporation, I'm talking about morally, not legally, because GDPR, alas, GDPR doesn't always respect that. But when this happens, the large corporation should be more responsible for protecting these data than the freelancer they contract, simply because they know where the personal information is, for instance, in a document that has been transferred for translation, whereas the small company or the freelancer doesn't even know that there were personal information. That was personal information in the document that was transferred. So, who is more responsible for protecting the personal information?
Okay.
Because I probably there could be 100 of more simpler examples. This is what came into my mind. Why? Because I spent years implementing GDPR at MOQ before we got
there. Exactly. I can see
that originated at a time when we didn't have a professional legal team. MOQ now has a professional legal team. Back then, 7 years ago, we didn't have that.
Yeah. I can imagine you're working with a lot of user data, right? So that was probably a big shift in how you do business. But I understand what you mean. Like there is a certain power dynamic between a provider of, let's say, a tool or a service and the user. So the bigger entity is more responsible.
Yeah, when you attribute responsibility, there has to be proportional to the power that one player or the other has.
Interesting. Now, you kind of dedicated a lot of your professional life to technology, right? And I'm recently,
So.
Yeah, exactly. So I wonder if you have kind of an ethical, like, red line, like when does technology help and when does it harm? Can you answer this question?
I wish so. If I said I can answer this question in absolute terms and without any doubt, no, I can't. But there are examples. So there are certain rules that need to be observed. You don't, for instance, force a user with limited power to breach confidentiality with other clients of theirs, for instance. You don't, or if we just look at the latest, let's call it scandal. I don't like this word scandal, but when many people treat the AI as a companion, even versus a therapist, and only now do we see how many conversations with AI the risk of suicide comes up. So that's when. So what I would say, and so there are two things I would think down here. I had to think a bit. One of them is you're going to anthropomorphize a technology. Technology is not a technology. In no form is technology a person. In no form should technology be treated as a person. In no form should technology be given rights as a person. That's one. And I don't care how intelligent that technology is. I don't care how sentient that technology is. That's one.
Sorry, can I just interject something? That is a really interesting thing that is coming up now in localization, because now more and more I translate text of, different tools, different chatbots, different AI tools. And there is always a decision to make from the producer or the provider of the tool. How do you want to address the tool, right? Do you want to say, please do this for me? Like, do you want to be polite? Do you want to, you know what I mean? Like, do you want to talk to it like a person? So you would say it's important to not.
Yeah, the people, but you also need to understand that humans are prone to anthropomorphize technology. So
I want to say thank you and please, right? Yeah.
I don't say that anymore, because there are some guidelines that suggest that it increases the environmental footprints to process the simple thank you or whatever.
Okay.
And if the accuracy and the compliance of the AI depends on whether I say thank you, well, I won't use that kind of AI. But so I'm sorry, I'm pretty categorical about this. And I also spent decades teaching humanities students to use technology, mostly about language technology and translation technology. So I started with Balazs, but they went early 2000. And from that, my experience tells me that humans have a natural tendency to anthropomorphize computers, because it's a machine that converses with you, even in in a more primitive way, even if you only interact with a web processor, clicking here, reading the message there, seeing the application react. It doesn't have to be conversational AI. You are still conversing with it. You are still interacting with it. And these systems, I mean, people even anthropomorphize the Commodore 64. Mm-hmm. I saw that in the 80s. So that's a natural tendency. And this is why I think it is important to say it out loud. No, it's no matter where it converses, it's not a person and shouldn't be treated as such. Not even if it passes the universe. And the other thing I like promoting the so-called minimum automation. Let me start from a distance. So translation as a profession, as an activity, had a completely different status in the 19th century and the early 20th century, because in many places it was connected to the birth of nations. So it had crucial role. Translations in places like Hungary. It was a crucial instrument of raising the status of the Hungarian language, increasing the expressive power of the Hungarian language. But equally so, you had to create a common tongue in Germany and in Italy, where the local dialects or even languages are still widely spoken. This is translation in the role of forming society. This is what we see, especially in the 19th century, in the first half of the 20th century. And compared to that, after 1990, when global business became a thing, and I think this was globalization was one of the most overused terms in 90s and early 2000s. The translation became a part of an industrial process. And that's a drastic change of status. And I'm talking about societal status. Instead of a power, a manifestation of power that shapes society, it becomes an local wheel in an industrial process. And that didn't happen because of AI. Didn't happen because of technologies, the other way around. Because it became industrial, it became a subject to automation. Because everything industrial is subject to automation. And that's not new either, that's centuries ago. I can't say that it's not okay to automate, because it's not that category. Automation happens because of, and not necessarily because of the largest corporations. But when you automate, you need to think how much resources, what resources the automation requires, and if something, a task can be solved with very simple means, you don't replace it with a much more complex method just to make shinier. Let me give you an example right from MemoQ. You have I'm wondering if at the MemoQ user you are using that, it's called the Muse, it's interactive typing feature. And it's interactive to as well. It's based on a very simple statistical algorithm. You could ask, why don't you replace it with a large language model? And this is precisely why, because it works. And keeping it the very simple statistical algorithm from 15 years ago actually consumes, 1 million times less time and energy compared to this solving the same task with a large language model. So this is what I mean by minimum automation. You need to still, as an engineer, and by engineer I mean people who are responsible for creating technology. As an engineer, you need to look for the most resource-efficient solution of solving the task. So it's not okay to go directly to a large language model because you can. As an engineer, again, we are looking at the power imbalance now. The power manifests in knowledge. Obviously, if you can be expected to have the knowledge of other methods of automation, then this is your responsibility to go. But if you are talking about an end user who hasn't received training in engineering, they don't have the same level of responsibility. They don't have to. They are not expected to know that there are simple methods of solving the task. And for them, the conversational AI services are a pen. I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant point, and that's really something I'm thinking about a lot lately. This kind of what you just mentioned, this can we versus the should we, right? Because I told the story recently on the channel that I got new headphones and they have an AI feature. I'm just like, what?
What does the AI do?
It doesn't even, like, you open the app and then there's explore the new AI, and you just it listens to the environment where you are, and it puts the settings of the sound in an optimal way, right?
This?
I just feel like there is no way that that someone thought we need this, right? This for me, this is clearly a matter of we can do this, we should, right?
I don't think we do. So the thing that you see on me, the very simple, it's probably the second cheapest wired network. The most sophisticated part of technology here is the USB-C adapter that contains the digital to analog and analog to digital converter, so that my computer can speak to the headset. And it does the talk. So that I can talk to you, you can hear me, viewers can hear me. But people might label me as old-fashioned. Engineers sometimes are, but most of the time I'm still using the mobile.
But yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear because you are in this world of tech. You talk to people that produce tech as well, right? So I don't know if you see this, that at the moment there just seems to be a kind of almost a need. Like if we make a new product, it has to have some kind of AI, otherwise it's not good.
It doesn't,
right?
It doesn't. Don't.
Exactly.
It's like 100% FOMO.
Yeah.
If I don't put AI somewhere there, even if it's just a label, I'm missing out. Oh, you are. And more and more people understand it. So if you look at I think that was the US Census Bureau, and I don't have the data at hand, but what they showed for the first half of 2025 is a decrease in the adoption of AI in all of American corporations. We are talking about businesses, not the public sector.
Yeah. You briefly touched upon very sad topic of a lot of suicides being linked to AI conversation. Is this the main ethical consideration you see with LLMs, or what else do you see could be an ethical dilemma with these tools that are widely available?
There's a lot. So it's been talked about that is using content to train AI automatically a breach of intellectual property rights.
True.
That's the contested view, and I'm usually very cautious of forming an opinion, partly because there are several lawsuits in progress at the moment. We don't know what the courts decide yet. In the US, in the UK, what we know is there is new legislation in Australia. If you haven't seen the news, and I'm talking to the viewers as well, please check. That in Australia, it just became legal to use intellectual property to train AI without the consent of the adopter.
Wow.
There's a law. It's now legal in Australia, but it's only Australia. For instance, don't quote me on that because I'm not. But I've read athlete argument about this. The UK athlete has been moving in the opposite direction, removing constant barriers for training. And to that I also that is an ethically contested one. And even NanoQ got me when we were part of a controversy earlier this year, and sometimes it still comes up, when we said that no, we are kind of not adding new features to the desktop application, right? And we would rather enhance the browser-based user interface. And in the detail that always gets conveniently omitted, browser-based interface is another user interface. We are doing that, and I'm not saying an apology, but it's also part of the rhetoric that came up. We are doing that to create a user interface that is sustainable, because the systems that the old desktop applications running on are fading away. They will cease to exist in some time. So we need to make it sustainable. And there are a lot of browser-based applications that are local. Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Outlook, Notion, and so on. They don't necessarily force you to store your data in the cloud, but you are not the same. But one of the first things that we've been told when we announced it clumsily, and I must admit, that you do that. But we've been told that we do this to steal people's data and use them to train AI. And they said that without asking us. Sometimes we complain about a lack of trust. That if I say how I'm going to use your data, then you are most likely not to believe me. And that's another ethical issue with AI. What do people of power use AI for? Is when you talk about selling services, especially software as a service to someone, that information security is like probably the most important deal breaker. It comes before any kind of features, any kind of benefits that your tool gives the user. And information security operates on the base that we look at, the principle of zero trust. The data you trust no one. Every piece of software, every person, and every individual, if you are an information security expert, then every person, every entity, every piece of technology that tries to interact with your systems is a potential attacker, and it has to be treated as such until proven otherwise. But that's an interesting dichotomy that sometimes the lack of trust is beneficial and sometimes it isn't, because it hinders understanding and conversation. But there is also a reason for that, because we know bad actors who run countries and use AI to harm people, to exercise surveillance, and they use the exact same methods as the hackers that information security is trying to protect us from.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of controversy here, and I would be lying if I said I know my way. It's kind of a dark forest here.
Okay.
And I'm maybe less lost than some of us, but I still don't see the way out.
Yeah. And do you think the recent EU AI Act gives some kind of regulation and might make the sector more responsible?
Yes and no. So and I need to be. Well, the Lean group was never asked about this, and well, Lean stands for language industry, and the field of expertise we are getting asked about is very narrow. It's about the translation, language services, whatever, and not AI in general. I say yes and no because we see it brings the responsibility around creating and using AI in the spotlight. It also brings the digital sovereignty, the AI sovereignty of the EU in the spotlight. And there are some efforts towards that. But at the same time, it has unrealistic expectations. The being transparent about how so what and how you train your model is not. You can do that. It's costly. Imagine that you have like billions of pieces of content that you need to use to train a large language model. By definition, it has to be large. It has to contain a lot of data. It has to be trained on a lot of data. So that part is easy. But when it comes to explainability, you have to be able to explain how your AI model arrived at an answer on whether that's not possible. Because a neural network, a transformer model that works in a large language model, is the single most unpredictable piece of technology. Almost a black box. It's a very dark gray box. And it's not just the randomization that exists in these systems. When you talk about temperature, that's a level of randomization that happens inside a large language model. But it's also a vector space. Imagine our space is three-dimensional. This is what we can perceive. And if you add time, you have time space that's 4 dimensions. Although, and there are some theories in quantum mechanics that say that time doesn't exist as a basic physical phenomenon of the physical principle. There are good books about that. And so it's a vector space. And imagine it's not three-dimensional, but I don't know, 300 billion dimension. Where is the human brain that can oversee or explain anything that happens in vector space like that? Mathematics knows how to calculate the distance between the vectors.
Yeah, there is
To cluster that, but this is mathematics. And through mathematics, we can create systems at a level of complexity that the human brain cannot conceive in it. We know they are possible in theory, we can deduce them, but we cannot perceive them. So this is where I have problems with the principle of explainability. These are not inherently not explainable systems.
okay. That's great to know. Yeah, I will read up more on that. Explainability is not something I have delved into, and it's very complex to grasp.
One part of the AI Act. It's one of the basic requirements.
Okay, super. I will read up on that. That's important.
And when you there's an ethical problem with creating laws that are not enforceable. Because there's one strict thing that is not enforceable. What happens to the rest?
True.
It isn't obvious to the general public why a certain provision is enforceable and another isn't. Even that is not easy to explain. It can be explained, but it isn't easy to explain. And that is already the lawmaker's responsibility. So if you make a law about something, you should first read and learn. Not just create a law to regulate something you don't understand.
Absolutely, that should be.
Happens all the time.
Especially with this one, they seem to have been so pressured to just put the law out right now, right? And
Precisely.
But yeah, okay. Thank you very much for this explanation. It's really I find these topics so fascinating, and I think the viewers as well. But time is running out, unfortunately. We can always do a part 2, but for today, that's enough. I would like to ask you...
Let's see what the audience will do.
Exactly. I would like to ask you to address the audience straight ahead. It can be so overwhelming when most of my viewers are people that's starting out in the industry, right? And hearing all these overwhelmingly big concepts can be very much. So can you cut it down back to the freelancer? What is your word of advice for a person starting out in the industry nowadays?
So we have been doing a lot of thinking, and that means we also work together with educators of what the language profession of the future look like, because it's not as simple as it used to be. So we still need people, and in the future we will need people who know how to translate without any help from machines. But at the same time, most of the work of the language professional won't be translation like that. I'm always in favor of everybody having a skill set, a multifaceted skill set. That was always something that I expected myself to have. So whoever studied translation and humanities, these are extremely valuable skills, and also trying to start a new project that I can't talk about just yet, which will promote the value of the human creativity. But at the same time, as someone studying translation, aspiring to begin a language profession, working in a language as a language professional, don't be afraid of mathematics and programming. Please don't. I know many people choose scenarios because they are afraid of mathematics. That tells me one thing: they received a sloppy education in mathematics in high school.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it had nothing to do with the talent. That's one of the things, and the other is be open to learn about the new things, and that's obviously many times when we talk about it, it is pick up AI literacy, but AI literacy doesn't only mean that you have a basic idea of how the AI works, but you are also are open to learn the facts around it. What are the news? What are the responsible uses of AI? How to tell? And that's the worst thing that's getting more and more difficult. One of the things that stay away from social media as much as you can. So I have LinkedIn because I have to, and the only social media platform I still kind of like using is Instagram, and I'm not active anywhere else, and that's by choice. It's not that I don't know about TikTok or even Snapchat or whatever, because I have kids, but grown-up kids. But don't get your information from social media. This is what I'm here. Find the authentic sources. Learn how to fact check, and try to keep on top of what is good and what is bad. So that's kind of what I'm expecting everybody to have is a level of critical thinking, which if maybe no, I don't think my standards are high. If you think of yourself as an intellectual, that's a basic requirement.
Great advice, and that's also I appreciate very much you coming through to this. Yeah, exactly. That was what I just wanted to say. That's why, like, it's so valuable for you, someone so deeply involved in the industry, coming here and talking to newcomers, right? Because then you can trust that your source is well researched, well studied, with a lot of experience.
I hope, really. But I can only hope. So there are limits of what we can know and how well.
I mean, yeah, of course. But there's only so much fact checking we can do, right? If we get to the source of Balazs Kis, then I think we did well. So
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah. Let's cut this before I blush. So.
All right. Thank you for watching the video today. Make sure to check the link in the description. I'm gonna put Balazs' links there. So if you want to reach out to him directly, feel free to do so. And as we mentioned briefly before, next Monday, Belen and Cora come on the channel to talk about the AI think tank. Again, a very interesting and stimulating topic. I hope it's not recorded yet, but I'm quite sure.
I don't.
Make sure
it will be brilliant.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So make sure to come back next Monday, 6 p.m. And see you then. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.